So this video is going to be about 1973's The Wicker Man. So I'm going to explain that, I don't know much about cult. In doing this video, I did not research anything about it. So this is strictly just for the movie itself. Like I said, don't know much about cult. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, if there are any politics in it. I'm going to tell you, I didn't particularly like this movie. This movie could have been explored a lot more. It was only 89 minutes long for what it was, and it wasn't really my cup of tea. Before watching this, before I made the decision to do film or do reviews about cult films never really appealed to me. The movie is generally about this detective who shows up on this small island investigating this little girl's disappearance. Now, what I didn't understand from the beginning, why would authorities, the police department, choose to handle this investigation with just one detective or one police officer? Why not bring 2 or 3 or maybe half a dozen people to this small island? Being a police officer, even back in 1973, it would be a smart idea to bring more than one person to an island to investigate a disappearance of a little girl. That was my thought on that. It just didn't make any sense to me. Okay, so going forward, the movie is generally about this guy just investigating this little girl's disappearance. And then throughout the movie, he's introduced to quite a few wacky characters. He's introduced to this woman that tries to seduce him. And there's this one specific scene where he's trying to go to sleep. She's in the next room and she's singing and she's dancing and she's like pounding on the wall and making a bunch of racket. And she's obviously trying to seduce him, and he's just, at first, he's irritated. I think he gets the sense that, there is, an opportunity there to go into another room and possibly get with that other chick. But of course, him being a Christian man, he's married with kids and all this, he doesn't do this, right? And the next morning, this chick's like, "Oh, I thought you were going to come to my room last night." When the first 10 or 15 minutes of this movie, I thought for sure, there was a couple people singing, and it almost felt like this was like a horrifying musical. So this character goes through a number of incidences where he's going from store to store. He goes to the school. He goes to the local school, and everybody's just like, no, they've never heard of this missing girl, right? And then he finds evidence that they are lying, and then there's this little girl's name in an attendance list in the school. He starts asking questions like, why did you lie? It's clear her name is there. What's going on? And nobody has an answer. They're making him assume that she's dead, but who's the killer? No one has an answer. So he jumps through hoops trying to figure out what's going on in this small town. He quickly realizes that this is a small town of really, some crazy people. I think at that point, as a cop or in this guy's situation, I would have went back to the airplane and fucking took off before anything got even any worse and bring back more police officers. But, this cop was from 1973 and it was kind of stupid. The end result of this movie is he realizes that this is a commune, that this is a community of, well, like I said, crazies. So the police officer ends up meeting up with the town's leader. I think he was the mayor. I think it was the mayor. He's trying to, get to the bottom of this. Where is this little girl? Is she murdered? Is she actually disappeared? But he constantly comes across naked women or just women breastfeeding out in public or just people doing random weird things. I'm not sure if that was just their way of life or they were, or if they were trying to distract the police officer, showing nudity in public, or a little girl putting a toad in her mouth and being forced to do it. There's quite a few incidences in this film where they just people are forced to do things, or they voluntarily do something really freaking weird. And the cop looks at it like, oh my God, like what's going on? But he's distracted by it. Like, this is a cop that, like, understandably, I guess, oblivious if he's never come across, a commune or religious cults or anything like that. So the last 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, a day comes and it's May Day, May the 1st. So it's May Day. And I didn't know anything about this, but I guess, May Day is a celebration for harvest and all that kind of stuff. Like plants and vegetables growing. In the midst of all this, they sacrifice animals. They sacrifice people. I won't spoil the end for you, not entirely. Or fuck it, I'm just gonna spoil it for you. It's super old. Either you knew about the movie, or you've seen it, or you should have seen it, or if you clearly didn't give a shit to watch it. The ending is the detective thinks he's all suave and cool, and he takes down one of these civilians dressed up in this animal getup. I think it was a chicken or a rooster. I can't remember. But the whole town is dressed up in rabbits and fish and big costumes, like a fucking cosplay thing going on. So he puts this thing on and he's like following the parade down the street and down the beach, and they're going towards this cliff. There's this cave. And of course, that little girl that went missing is inside the cave, and she's dressed up in this get-up, and she's got sacrifice fucking gear on. Right then and there, he runs up there, he fucking tries to save her. They go through the cave, they go through the other side of the cave, right? And lo and behold, the whole idea was the whole town to attract this cop to make him think that there's somebody missing. There was nobody missing. And instead of sacrificing somebody in their community, they're sacrificing somebody they don't know from the mainland. The rest is history. They fucking sacrifice him. They put him in this giant Wicker Man looking thing, and he fucking burns alive. So after explaining all that to you as much as I could, I did not care for the movie. I thought the movie was interesting, but I felt it didn't really dive deep into the whole thing. I felt it was a very exterior film. I think it was very simplistic. I think anybody could have understood it. And it was, I don't know, I just didn't care for it all that much. I didn't think the acting was all that great. When watching a film like this, I feel like today's acting and filmmaking, it's just so advanced. Not just in terms of special effects, CGI and all that, and action and stunts and stuff like that. Not just those, but it's so far advanced in how people can act nowadays. You can dive deep into your psyche, your emotions, your past. Actors do this, and they dive deep in there somewhere, and they can bring all these emotions out and all these acting abilities out. So some movies, some actors are just so great in them and perform very, very well. I felt like you couldn't connect with this character. Obviously, near the end of the movie, you could try and connect, putting yourself in a situation where you're fucking oh shit, I'm in a situation where I know I'm gonna die, or I know I'm gonna be burned alive. I mean, I can't really relate to that, but I'm sure somebody, could in some aspect. This movie kind of took me out. I was pretty much I was trying my hardest to dump my heart, all my attention into this movie, and I just couldn't. It was a pretty laughable film. So that's my take on The Wicker Man. I'm glad I took the opportunity to watch 1973's The Wicker Man. But I'll pass. Thanks for watching, and please share. If you agree or disagree, put a comment down below me.